In this video, I'm going to show you the new project type for Inset and Interlay Mosaic Crochet. This is new in version 32, Cloud 32.5. If you go to your Help menu and scroll down, you can see the version here. If you don't have this version here, you should refresh your browser with the browser button up here, or you can also do reload in here. And then check that menu again, it should say 32.5 there. Okay, so there's one change in here. There's a new project type, and this is Inset and Interlay Mosaic Crochet. Now I've just done two previous videos, and some of the things in the previous videos are going to apply. So you might want to watch those two previous videos that came out. Because one video was for Mosaic Overlay Crochet, one was for Reverse Mosaic Overlay Crochet, and this one is about Inset and Interlay Mosaic Crochet. So if anything seems unclear in this one, go back and watch those two previous videos. Okay, so I'm going to pick this new project type here. And so this is supposed to be, there's a little bit of a description up here now. Inset and Interlay Mosaic Crochet, where you would use extended double crochet stitches that are worked into rows of the same color below. The base for this stripe is a stripe pattern where each stripe is going to be 2 rows. And in the previous two Mosaic Crochet videos that I made, we're working with a base that had 1 row. Where you usually work from one side to the other and then start again on the original side, and you always work in the same direction. But this one is going to have sort of taller stripes. It's going to have 2 rows in each stripe, and we're going to work these extended double crochets down over the top of those things, and that's going to make our pattern. So basically, for the sizing, we need a single crochet gauge. So you can pick an approximate gauge here, or you can put your own gauge in down below. Pick the number of rows and columns, and for this one, you need to have an even number of rows in order for this to work. And then let's just go and pick a yarn. Let's see, how about Pound of Love. Okay, so we say create project. Okay, and now it asks us for our beginnings foreground and background colors. And in the case of Mosaic and Overlay Crochet, the background color is going to be used for the foundation row. So let's pick one color. I like these two together, Creamsicle and Pumpkin Spice. Okay. And then I don't want to save it right away. Okay, let's make it a little smaller. It looks a little bit kind of big at that size. Okay, so now we've got up here our symbols now, our design symbols for this Inset and Interlay Mosaic Crochet. We have our familiar X symbol that we've used for double crochets before, and in this case we're going to use it for extended double crochets. So let's take a look at that one first. To draw with it, we click the Draw and Erase symbol button down here, and then we can start clicking on our grid here. Okay, and whatever pattern we would like to put in here. Let's see what we can do. I don't know. Yeah, as I've mentioned in previous videos, if you've got this tool selected down here and you have a mouse where you can right click, you can draw the symbol, and then you can erase it with a right click if you don't like it in that particular place. So that's a quick way to draw and erase as you're moving things around in the editor. Let's just take those 3 and let's copy them. Let's do a copy, paste. As I mentioned in the previous videos, the paste tools are much reduced here. For right now, I've just got the stamp and the apply. Some of these are going to be implemented and in the near future, but for right now, that's what I've got for these mosaic types. Okay. Now, when you're moving the paste around, be sure you line up your stripes. I'm not doing anything to prevent you from pasting it in the wrong place. So just make sure you've got your stripes lined up so that you're not coloring one stripe in a different place. Okay, and let's do a stamp here. And then maybe let's move this over like that in the next row. Let's do a stamp and another stamp. And we could do it there. I don't think I want that. Let's just go in and finish this down here. Let's do, oh, we can't really do any more down here because I do allow you to draw these down here. You could actually do a double crochet and hook it into the the loop and the chain at the bottom. But so I allow you to draw there, but that's not kind of standard. You'd really want to just go probably here and there. Those are not lined up quite right. But anyway, so that's good enough. That's good enough for the demonstration today, I think, but it's not quite lined up right. Okay. And as I've mentioned before, you can erase all symbols here with this tool, and you can erase the symbol by type, which erases the selected symbol that's up here. So if there's you have multiple things drawn in the same square, then that would erase just the one of the type that that you select. Okay, so let's look at some of these other symbols here. Now we have the lines, so that's just there for, if you want to, draw a line maybe to mark where your repeat is or something like that, or whatever you want to do. There's 4 lines there, so you can draw a box around something. You can do some things like that. So that's for your own, whatever you would like to do. Sometimes it's useful to draw lines in certain places on the pattern. Okay, and then there are these other 2 symbols here. There's a chain 1 and a chain 2. Now these are for Inset Mosaic Crochet. So the way that this previously worked, if you're coming from what I was talking about in my previous 2 videos, where we have only one row of each color, then what generally happens is you work that row from the right to the left if you're right-handed, and then you work the next color on top of that one from right to left, and you end up with a tail on each side. Okay. Now, the way this works is there's 2 rows of each color. So what you're doing is you're working across the row, single crochets, and then you're going up, and you're going to work all the way back. You're going to turn the work and then go all the way back to the other side. So you're doing 2 rows of each color instead of 1 row of each color, and that allows you to carry what would be the tail, carry the yarn up the side of this. So you'd work those 2 rows, and then you'd leave that yarn there. Then you'd work these 2 rows in this peachy color, and then you leave that yarn there, and then you would pick up the yarn from down here and continue on up with the next row and keep going. Okay, and also in the kind of the original Mosaic Overlay Crochet that I talked about, we worked all of our single crochets in the backs of the stitch that was down below it, so that there would always be a front loop hanging here that you could hook into your double crochet into. But in this case, we don't do that. We single crochet into both loops of the single crochet down below. So we're always working kind of like the full normal way that you would do single crochet. You're working through both loops of the single crochet down below. And that presents an issue when you get to doing this double crochet. If you've worked single crochets across here, where do you work that double crochet? Well, if you're doing interlay mosaic crochet, then you would work it around this stitch here. You basically go around the post of that stitch and hook it in that way. And I'm gonna put some links in the description of this video. I got a couple of YouTube videos that will show you interlay mosaic crochet and show you inset mosaic crochet. So for inset, so that's interlay. You would work it around this stitch down here. But for Inset Mosaic Crochet, what you do instead is you do not work when you're coming across here and you're doing these single crochets, you do not work in either one of these two stitches, and instead you chain across this gap and leave those open so that the double crochet can come down later and work into that top of that stitch. So when you chain across here, you might want to mark that on the pattern. You could just remember that that's what you're doing. But you can, I put some symbols in here so that you can mark that on the pattern. I have a chain one and a chain two. And you can use these to create the right number of chains for each thing. So generally, if you, let's switch, let me just show another example where we suppose you have just one double crochet that's coming down, then you just need two chains to go across there. You always need one extra because the chain is kind of going to hang out the back side and it needs to be able to stretch around that double crochet once the double crochet is in place. So the chain kind of goes around the back. So you always need a little, like a little bit of extra there. So I would think like one extra chain would do it for that. So if you have two that you're going across, then one extra chain here. So I would count this as 1, 2, 3 chains. So I'd be coming along here, doing my single crochets. Then I work 3 chains and I skip those 2 stitches. So those 2 stitches are going to be one less than this one, and you'd go on to the next one and continue going on like that. So in any case, you could mark, you know, the chains here using these stitches like that. And then you can take and copy these, but remember, for right now I don't have a special copy and paste, just the symbols. So if you do copy and paste this section here, remember that you're copying that color. You want to put it in exactly the same place. So you want to put it where there's a dark over the light here. You don't want to paste them here. You would have to have a different set to paste in there because right now I don't have special pastes for just symbols or just colors. So it pastes color and symbol. Okay, so anyway, so that's what those are for. So those are the chain things, and that's pretty much all there is in here. There's the X for the double crochet, and then there are chains that you can use to mark if you're doing inset mosaic crochet, and then there's just the line tools. Okay, now we can take this thing and convert it. As I was doing before, I was able to convert between the two, the mosaic overlay crochet and the reverse mosaic overlay crochet. You can convert between those two types. And we can also convert from this to the other mosaic crochet things. But it's going to change, the pattern is going to change shape to a certain extent, because if you convert this one with 2 rows for each color into a type of mosaic crochet that has only 1 row per color, then what's going to happen is this is going to be half the size. It's going to be half the height of the original one. It's going to be the same width, but it's going to be half as tall because each one of these stripes of 2 rows of color is going to turn into 1 row. So let's go ahead and just do that real quick. So if you wanted to convert one pattern to another, you would go to display, and then you pick this cell size and type. And then we're working here with the 2 rows each color, and we could convert it to one of these. Let's say Mosaic Overlay Crochet. And then we're going to put our crochet gauge in again and then say save. And that's not an undoable thing. You can't undo this project type changing. So we're just going to do it like that. Okay, and now you see we have a much shorter pattern, but we have the stitches in the same relative places that they were before. So the double crochets, the X's are in the same relative place they were before. And when I convert to this kind, I generally mark the top ones as being anchored double crochets, which you can always change if you want to mark them with X's, you can always do that. Okay, so that moves it into this other project type, and now you have this. You have, in this type, you have border stitches, as I explained before. There are no border stitches in the new type, the Inset and Interlay Mosaic Crochet, because you always work your single crochets through both loops, right? So these border stitches are special in the sense that when you're on the edge here, if you're in regular mosaic overlay crochet, you work through both loops. And the ones in the middle are different in the sense that you work them in the back loops only. So there's a distinction between the edge and how the single crochets are worked in the middle in this particular type. But that's not true for the other one because all single crochets and all stitches are going to be worked into the full top of the full back and front loops of the stitch down below in interlay and inset mosaic crochet. Okay, so that converts to that, and last week I showed how you can convert this to a reverse mosaic overlay crochet, and I think that that is about done. And just a reminder that there is a floating palette up here, and you can actually you can click on the design symbols that you're drawing in that palette. Um, anyway, in this floating palette, you can use that instead of using the things up above. I tend to use these on if you don't have a lot of desktop surface, it's probably better to use these things up at the top. And then if you have more, if you're on a desktop machine, you've got a lot of space, you can, put this over here and move that around. Okay. All right. So I think that's about it. Thanks very much for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.